Okay, my name is Cindy Weber, and I was born in Burlington, Wisconsin, USA. And it's a small city in a not very well-known state. It's mostly like a resort state. And my father was a building inspector. He's retired now. He's 81 years old now. And my mother was a telephone operator, and she worked for a telephone company.
How was the education of your father and mother?
Okay, my parents were only high school graduates. They did not go to any university. Just my brother, my sister, and I went to universities.
Could you talk about your brother and sisters, that what they educated, what they studied?
Okay, my brother's a pharmacist. He studied at University of Wisconsin, and he's been a pharmacist for almost 30 years. And he's had various jobs in Wisconsin. He stays in Wisconsin, and he's worked in hospitals and pharmacies and stores. And my sister, she's a nurse, and she lives in Beverly Hills, California, and she works at UCLA in the neuropsych ward.
You said that where did you born?
Burlington, Wisconsin.
Wisconsin.
Mm-hmm.
Could you talk about memories from that period? Which kind of town it was and in that years, you know?
Okay, well, Burlington is a very small, when I was growing up there was only like 5,300 people in the town. And everybody like pretty much knew who everybody else was. And it was like a farm town, like surrounded by all farming communities. But we lived in the town. Our house was in the town, and the air was clean, and you could run outside and play. Those are like some of my best memories. You could just say, bye, Mom, and go outside and play for the whole day. And play would go to your neighbors, and your neighbors come over, and you can walk downtown. And I went to... I went to Catholic school there. I was taught by nuns.
Look,
yes.
We will come to your education, but after that, I want to know about your childhood. Sister, do you have a sad or nice memory from your kids in that time?
Oh no, my childhood, I have nothing but nice memories.
Even bad memories you had?
No bad memories of my childhood.
Life, you know, in your childhood, yeah. Could you talk about the belief of your family, mother and father?
Okay. My parents were Catholics, very devout Catholics. They went to church every Sunday, and their parents were Catholic too. And my father's parents are from Germany, and my mother's parents are from Norway. And they're all Catholics.
From Norway, I mean, in which century, in which period they come from, Norway or Germany?
They came to America in the early 1900s, like little kids, like 3-year-olds. Mm-hmm.
One of them
with their
from
parents.
Norway, one of them from
Germany. Baden-Baden area
How
of
they
Germany.
met each other, then they married?
My parents? Yeah, my parents met each other in Illinois, and just through friends, and then they started dating, and then my dad went to the Korean War, and then they got engaged, and then after my dad got home, they got married.
Okay, your father and mother were Christian, and they were going to the church every Sunday, you said. They
Yeah.
were taking you, or they tried to teach you, what was their relation to touch your religious life?
Okay, well, they were Catholic, they were not Christian. We're told that Catholics are different than Christians.
Okay, from the beginning.
Okay, well, they're Catholics, not Christian. So we were always told there was a difference, that we were Catholic, and we weren't with the other churches. But anyways, my parents put me in the Catholic school. So I went to the Catholic school, so that's how they tried to influence me. And they took me to church every Sunday. So
they were teaching that how you prayed during the eating and they were teaching in the ordinary days, or only you were studying the Christianity in the Sundays? You don't remember? Difficult to remember?
No, they didn't really say, we went to church, but they didn't really like say anything. Maybe we prayed at the table before we ate, but no, everything I started to learn was when I went into the Catholic school.
Okay.
From
We
the
will
nuns.
come to your education, but last thing, you said that we were Catholic but not Christian. Could you talk, because this is a very important point.
Yeah, it is. It's a really important point. Well, we were always like taught like the difference is that we were not Lutheran or Presbyterian or whatever all those other, any of the other Christian religions. We were Catholic. We never said that we were Christian.
Yeah, but you said the general speaking, and in Turkey they don't understand what you mean when you say this. They try to go deep because the people, the Islamic countries, they don't know the meaning of, I mean, you understand, you said, you describe, you summarize in a few sentences is not enough, if it's possible.
Yeah.
Because as far as I understand that
We're,
Catholicism were more, I mean, okay, you explain.
okay, being Catholic is, you know, there's the Pope and Rome, and we follow like what they say. And we have our own Bible. Like, you know, the communion is like something different, and we have confirmation. And just, you know, there's just, we don't like mix with the other ones. And you don't dare to marry outside like someone who's Catholic. Not to get married, you know, with someone who's not Catholic.
Oh, very interesting. They don't let to marry with, for example, Orthodox.
Yeah,
This
well,
was
they don't
something-
like it. It's very frowned upon.
But this positions comes from the tradition, or it was the common of the Catholicism?
Oh, no, it's like a canon of the Catholicism.
I see the priest and the teachers of the Catholics, they say, no, you mustn't. Yeah, I understood. Okay, sister, let's come, it's going very good. Let's come to your education. Starts from primary school. Okay, we are listening to you.
Okay. I went to kindergarten in the public school at an old school building called Cooper School. And then after that, in first grade, I went to St. Mary's. And I stayed there until I was in the 6th grade. And that was the Catholic school. And I usually had,
Excuse
yes.
me, I can't but continue. You say the name of the school and the location, in which city?
St. Mary's in Burlington, Wisconsin, in my town. Come on. Can I hold my cat in the video?
No problem.
Because
we
don't
cannot see.
people like cats?
We cannot see.
Oh, you can't?
We don't, because the camera is shooting from here.
Oh, okay. Okay,
You
so
continue.
I went to St. Mary's Catholic School in Burlington, Wisconsin, and I attended there from first,
Sister,
No
we
cat.
don't see the cat. We cannot see the cats, and this position, the people don't understand what she's doing.
okay.
If we see the cat, it's okay, but no, this is not serious. So be brave.
Madam,
Mariam, Miss Mariam,
she can take the cat away. Yes, she's my good girl.
Miss Mariam. Mariam.
Do you have bloopers?
3, 2, 1. Please we continue where we stayed. School.
Yes, I went to St. Mary's Catholic School in Burlington, Wisconsin for first grade, second grade, third, fourth, fifth, and sixth. And I was taught by nuns. Usually it was a nun who was my main teacher. And we were taught, of course, like by the priests. They came in and taught that. And we went to church every morning. And you don't dare to move while you're in church. But it was a very good experience.
Go to the details from that period, please.
Well, we had school uniforms, and we had very strict rules at school. You don't even like turn your head to look out and see who went past the window. And we had chorus classes, and we had a nun who, played the piano, and then we sang, all different Catholic songs. Maybe there was some Christian songs in there too, I bet there was. And it was a really good experience. I don't have any bad memories, even though the teachers were very strict. It was still a good experience.
Do you have any memory from that period that sometime you remember, even in this age?
No, I just remember liking to play outside at recess.
In which age you were? I mean, how old are you that period? In that period?
That was...
You were 8, 9, starting of the school, I mean.
No, 7 years old till...
11, 12.
Till 12. 7 to 12.
Then what happened? You finished that. Just this, I wonder, when you go to this Catholic school, the government considered that you finished primary school, isn't it?
Yes.
Mean, this is not something, yeah, I understand. But it means there is few kind of schools here. Ordinary school and religious school, we can say. Oh,
right.
I see.
Yeah, it was a religious school, and then I begged my parents if I could go to the public school. Because I told my parents, well, the public school has more stuff like, science labs and cooking classes and the band, and that was attractive to me. So they reluctantly let me go there. They didn't want me to leave the Catholic school. They wanted me to go all the way through to high school. But I was able to talk them into letting me go to the public school. So then I went to junior high in Burlington, Wisconsin. So I lived, 20 years in that town. 24 years I lived in Wisconsin, sorry.
So you go to ordinary college?
Yeah, I went to college after that. I went to the junior high, and then I went to Burlington High School.
Then, do you have any memory from that period? How was your lectures? I mean, how was your relation with the teachers? According to your teachers, you are which kind of student?
I would say, yeah, just a good student. I mean, I wasn't the best one, but I was a good student, yeah. And
you like your teachers? Which one is affects you so much? The lectures, which one you were usually interested in?
I liked the teacher who had the class who taught us how to be radio announcers. He made a little radio station, and it broadcast throughout the city, and he took us to Chicago to do our exam for the FCC license to be an engineer. And he was really, really interested in the kids and seeing to your success. That teacher, his name was Mr. Havel.
By the way, when you go to religious school, you were staying in a dormitory or with your family?
Oh no, I walked to school every morning from my home and walked home.
Okay. At the college, what did you study? Generally, what's the main subject?
I went to University of Wisconsin-Madison. I studied political science.
You finished that?
Yes, I graduated with a BA in political science, and I went to work then for the Democratic Party of Wisconsin.
You even you act in the politics?
Yes, I did. I was in the
Talk about that, Paris.
Okay, well, when I finished my degree at the University of Wisconsin, I was like, okay, well, in 6 months, at the end of the school when I was a senior, I was like, okay, well, in 6 months I'm going to be graduating. Now what am I supposed to do with political science degree? Because I took it because I liked the classes, and I thought I could pass the classes. So I looked in the newspaper, because at that time, if you want any work, you check newspapers, okay? And there was a thing in there that said that they needed volunteers at the Democratic Party. So I went over there and I volunteered during the last 6 months of my senior year, and then when I graduated, they hired me. So I worked in the Democratic Party headquarters in Madison, Wisconsin, and then I did mostly administrative work, but then after that I got into campaigns and fundraising, and it was a great experience. And
why you participated in that party? You liked the ideology of that party, or you were planning to make money? What was your impulse to especially to participate in politics?
yeah, I did believe in the Democratic. Yeah, I did believe in the Democratic Party. So it was, I don't know how to explain it.
Yeah, of course. But what was their, because really we don't know what's the meaning of Democratic Party in USA. What was their mind? I mean, what's their belief?
Their belief is like more like liberal ideas and more government control, more government programs. Hmm. And the Republicans were just like, more tax breaks for the rich, and then if they want to make jobs for people, they can.
How old are you in that time? How old
I was 22.
22, yeah, 22 years old. Right. So
And then I worked for the Democratic Party for 3 years.
I see. They like your working style. How was your relation with the other members?
Oh my God, it was like so great. We just had the best time. It was an unbelievable experience. And I also, at the end of it, I interned in a state senator's office at the end too. I was really, really glad to do something with my degree.
Good. So, sister, if you want to break, I mean, for rest,
No, I'm okay.
it's
We can
okay,
keep
we
going.
can continue then. Then after some time we have a break.
Yeah.
Did you finish, the working period is finished that time, or I think you do a lot of things after that. Where did you work? What did you do? Not,
Yeah.
I mean, we want to know that where did you work, because after this question we will come your converting. So don't go to the converting story. This tell where did you work then? I mean, the biography of working, I don't know how you say in English, you understand?
Yeah, okay, well, now we
Chronology.
start to get into like the wake-up period. Okay, the way I call, like waking up to,
You want to start from the, okay, we start from. But first you say that what you know before about Islam and Muslims, then come into the subject, how you convert to Islam. Yeah,
okay.
but please speak in this like 10, 20
Well,
minutes more inshallah.
At the time when I was at the University of Wisconsin, I met a few students here and there who were from Middle Eastern countries. And still, I still hadn't even heard of Islam by the time. I knew like little bits and pieces, but I didn't know what you called their religion, and I didn't know anything like about it. Like I knew enough like to ask them a few questions like, is that where the pilgrimage to Mecca is, like something like that. I would know something like that. Or I thought the Quran was from Sudan. Just really strange stuff.
Then how you convert to Islam? Can you come to this important subject?
No, it does. I have to tell more about the story about where it was my work after that.
Okay, yeah, okay. You organize.
Can I ask her what she's doing with the cat?
Yeah.
What are you doing with the cat? But she's making noise.
Then how you convert to Islam? Can you come to this important subject?
Okay, after I resigned from the Democratic Party job, actually before I did, I had an opportunity to go to Kenya. So I went over there and I became a teacher at a school over there, 250 miles northwest of Nairobi, at a school called Kaptagat Girls. It was a Catholic missionary school called a Harambee school. And I was a teacher there of English. There was a bishop, a Catholic bishop, who hired me, and I taught English, home science, and commerce at that school. It was a girls' boarding school. And I stayed there in 1982 and 1983. I became the acting principal in 1983, which was like one of the hardest things I ever did in my whole life. But then I decided I wanted to come back to America, and so then I left that job and came home. And I went to paralegal school in Chicago. And I became a paralegal, a corporate paralegal. And I started living in Chicago. I'm sorry.
Let's continue after that from Chicago. You were in Africa, Nairobi, you said.
No, 250 miles west of Nairobi, in a small village.
I mean, Nairobi. That place was in Nairobi State, Nairobi country.
Kenya. Kenya is the name of the
Ah,
country.
Kenya, name of the country, Kenya. Yeah, I know that country. Yeah.
Mhm.
Well, why did you select to go? Because you are
Because-
going to the look. This is very important because you have been in a how you say missionary school. So this is very important for you. You must open the subject. You must talk like a story. Half an hour you must speak because if we have the pictures, we will make editing.
Mhm.
So this is important. Your background, we must make long as much as how you say long.
Yeah.
long. We need to speak a little bit more. Okay.
Mhm.
Why did you go there? And go to the details. What did you do there in Kenya? Talk about 20 minutes in this subject.
Okay. I went to Kenya because I had some friends from the University of Wisconsin who invited me to go there. So I decided that I was going to take them up on their invitation, and so I went there. And when I got there, I applied for jobs. And because I didn't know how long I was going to stay. And they said, okay, well, try to get a job. So I did, and I got hired by the Diocese of Eldoret. The bishop of the Diocese of Eldoret hired me, and then he made the work permit for me. And then I started being a teacher there of English at a girls' Harambee school, 250 miles west of Nairobi, northwest of Nairobi, in a village, like with huts and people playing drums and stuff like that. Yeah, it was a really great, it was one of the best things I ever did. And I taught English, home science, and commerce. And I had a very good working relationship with the other teachers. There was 2 British girls who came over there, so that kind of helped with somebody just for English, to have someone else to sort of relate to. And in the next village, there was a Peace Corps worker, girl from Iowa. And so then I had that friend too, and it was really great.
You were comfortable there because America and their condition is not good. The place where you stay and the foods and drinks.
Yeah, it was really hard because in that village, they only had outhouses for the bathrooms. And we stayed in concrete houses because they know that the teachers need, you can't stay in a hut if you're a teacher.
In that time, as a teacher, did you try to spread the Christianity to the people, or just you were teaching your English and you were trying to get your money? What was your purpose to stay there? What was running? How was running the work?
Yeah, I was just teaching English. I wasn't there to propagate any Catholic agenda. So I just happened to get hired by the Catholics. And of course I participated because, in whatever, they had Mass or whatever because I already was Catholic. But that's where I saw Muslims. That's where I started to see Muslims and how they lived their life. And then how it made a real impression on me. The Muslims in Nairobi and the Muslims in that country. I saw that they had a very good family life and they helped each other. And they liked to get married and have families, and the teenagers loved the grandparents, and everybody loves the babies, and just big families. And I noticed that they had a good lifestyle. There was a coup d'etat when I lived there too. In August of 1982, there was a coup d'etat, and there was a whole bunch of looting and smashing everything in Nairobi. And then I saw how the Muslim people helped each other and helped rebuild their stores and anything that got ruined. So I just remembered that. That's all. Wasn't thinking about anything, just remembered that was an impression I got from them. They didn't know me and I didn't know them. So I did have one friend, she was Ismaili. Ismaili was her religion. And I remember she had this really beautiful book on one of her tables in her living room. And there was a whole bunch of other stuff on that table, but I asked her, I said, what's that book? Because I noticed it was very beautiful, this book. And she said, oh, that's the Quran. And I was just like, oh, because I'd never seen one. So like this, by now I'm like 24 years old, 25, and I've never seen a Quran. I was just noticed it. Just these little things, you know, like I said before, at University of Wisconsin, I met like somebody from a Middle Eastern country, you know, people, a few people here and there, and I would say like, oh, what about the pilgrimage to Mecca, or, you know, something small, just little bits and pieces that I knew. But then in Kenya it started to get bigger and bigger because they have a large Muslim population over there.
And let's come to Chicago, because I stopped there, I'm sorry.
Okay. So when I came back from Africa, I went to paralegal school in Chicago. And then I got hired at a law firm, and I was a corporate paralegal for 3 years. And I worked at Belandic, Nystein, Richmond, Hauslinger and Young on LaSalle and Clark Street in downtown Chicago. And then I worked at Beatriz Corporation. And it was just another great memory, great teams I worked with.
You said that the company great. What you were doing there? What was your mission, duty in the company?
In Beatriz company?
Yeah.
Mergers and acquisitions. Corporate paralegal, preparing for the mergers and acquisitions that they were doing.
In that time, you had an economic, I mean, you were poor or medium, or, I mean, you were working.
Well, I had
student
student loans, so it's like you just never, you know, just your whole check is always gone. You just, you know, pay for your rent, pay for your car, pay for your food, and your student loan. Because I had student loans from University of Wisconsin and then the paralegal school. So I would say poor.
So this home is rental home?
Huh?
This home is rental home?
Where?
Here.
This one here in Dallas?
Yeah.
No, I own this house. My husband and I own it.
That's why I asked you by mix up. When you said you are poor. Okay, you finish your working career. What else? That there is something else, or you go to converting story?
Okay, so, well,
Your life story is finished almost?
my life study.
Yeah, the life story, I'm sure.
Story?
Yeah.
You mean before I accepted Islam? Before Islam?
Yeah, before Islam, let's say. Then if you finish, we come to the converting to Islam.
Well, yeah, now we're getting to the conversion
All
thing.
right.
So go ahead.
4, 3, 2, 1.
Okay, so then it seemed like then I started thinking to myself, well, just there's something wrong in this place. And there's, I don't know, just Friday nights were like for TGIF, that's drinking, means thank God it's Friday, means drinking. Saturday night means have a date, and Sundays were in front of the TV with beer for the football game. And so I just felt like that was just so empty, and there's just something missing. And actually I remembered the Muslim people that I saw in Kenya, okay? They don't know me, I don't know them. I just only recognized how was their lifestyle, how they lived their life. So that's when I started to get interested, like, and I'm like, well, maybe I need to change my religion. And so then I just kind of like got some books about like other religions, and I just still remembered the people that I saw with the good lifestyle back in Kenya. And I just was like, I'm going to check out, you know, Islam. Okay, so I thought I should go to a mosque in Chicago to get some literature or books or any information. So I looked in the yellow pages of the telephone book, where is the mosque or anything like that. And I found that in right between my job where I was working and the place where I was living, I used to walk to work every day because I lived downtown. And there was a place called the Downtown Islamic Center right in between. I mean, I walked past it every day. It was on the 4th floor of a certain building, so you wouldn't know it was there, but I found it in the phone book. So then I decided Friday night after work I was going to go stop in that place. And so that's what I did, like the same week that I looked up what's the address to go to an Islamic center. And so when I got there, there was like 4 guys. They were like doing a mailing, like folding letters and putting them in envelopes and things like that. And I was just looked in the door, and they're like, "Can we help you?" And I was just like, "Well, I just wanted to get some books or literature on Islam." And they're like, "Oh, here, oh, yeah, you know, take this, you know," and they're giving me books and pamphlets and stuff like that. And then they said, "We're going to pray right now. Why don't you watch us pray?" And I was like, "Okay." And so they said, "Okay, well, why don't you just pray with us?" And so they gave me like a scarf to put on, and they put me behind like a curtain, but it was like a curtain you can see through. And they put me behind like a curtain, but it was like a curtain you can see through. And they said, "Okay, just try it and follow us, go up and down like this and just do what we do." And I said, "Okay." And so I did that, and then after that was over, then I was just like, "Well, you know, okay, and thank you very much." And they go, "Well, why don't you be Muslim today?" And then I said, "Well, no, I just really want to read this stuff. I want to, you know, just find out. I'm just thinking about it." And they go, "Oh, well, do you know," and it's 4th floor up in Chicago, okay, and there was a very busy street down below. They said, "Do you know if you cross that street and you get hit by a car and you die, you will go to hellfire?" And I was like, "Impossible, because I'm Catholic and Catholics don't go to hell." And they said, they go, "Okay, we know. You want to go out with your boyfriend one more night before you accept Islam." I say, "I don't have a boyfriend." And they're like, "Okay, we know. You want to go out drinking with your friends. You want to go out drinking with your friends one more night before you accept Islam." I go, "Well, I don't drink." Because by that time I wasn't drinking alcohol anymore, because I started, another thing I liked about Islam is that they don't like alcohol. And so already I wasn't drinking anymore like for a year before that, because I knew there's something really bad about alcohol. And so they're like, "Okay, so if you want to accept Islam, there's this other mosque in, you know, North Chicago. If you want to accept Islam, go up there, usually about 1 o'clock in the afternoon, and there'll be someone there and you can accept Islam." I said, "Okay." And it was Friday, so I was thinking about going there that Sunday. And then something came up and I went out to lunch with a friend. I didn't go there. So then the next Sunday was coming up, and it's like, I think I'm going to go there. So I had the address, and then on the way there, I got lost in my car, and I kind of like started turning around, because it was like a part of Chicago like I never really had been to before. So I had to stop my car and get out the map and look which way I turned. This is, you know, no GPS then. This is 1987. So I looked at the map and I figured out what I was doing wrong, and then I turned and I went up the street to like where it was. I was pretty close, and then couldn't find any place to park. But then I remembered very vividly. I found a place to park. There was nothing on the front of that place, so I went in, and then when I got inside the front door, nobody talked to me, and I could see like all these men like from India. Of course, I didn't know there was a Pakistan. Everybody with that look is India, okay? So I went inside and I stood inside the front door and nobody talked to me, and I was just like, oh boy. And you know, I just felt kind of shy to go to those men that were in that office, you know, working away. So finally, one guy asked me, he said, "Can I help you?" And then I was just like, yeah, I said, I'm interested in becoming a Muslim. Oh, okay, are you American? Yeah, I said, yes, I am. Then they go, okay, so they went and ran and brought one other sister who's an American. And then she kind of like hung out with me for, I don't know, half an hour or so. And then another lady who's an American, she came and she said, okay, pray with us first, and then after we pray, you can become Muslim. So I said, okay. And then I just did their prayer, whatever they do. I didn't have a scarf. Of course, they had to give me a scarf and everything. And so then I just followed that, and then she brought her husband, and then her husband said we were sitting in the sisters area, and then he said the Shahada, and I repeated it after him. And then that was it. I was Muslim right there. In April 1987.
What was you expecting and what was happening? Because you went 2 times to ask about Islam, this and that. Sometimes did you think that when I go there, they will angry on me, or they will? Well, what you were supposing from the Islamic peoples towards them, and what you found?
Well, I didn't expect anything because I didn't even know any Muslim people. I didn't know anybody from, Malaysia. I didn't know anybody from Pakistan. I didn't know anybody from Turkey. I didn't know anybody from any Muslim country. I didn't have any expectations. I just expected that I was going to just start participating in their activities and their prayer times was my expectation.
So let's continue about your Islamic life. After you became a Muslim, did you change your mind about Muslims and Islam? I mean, in the next days, what you understood? Because sometimes you say that this I was looking, I find, but sometimes day to day, when you go to the tail of the knowledge of Islam, you think that you find something terrific or something unique, So in that period, what did you feel in the next days that when you after some years?
Well, like I said, I didn't know anybody Muslim before I accepted Islam, so I didn't, what do you want to say?
You understand? I mean, after following years, what's changed? I mean, your faith is increased, how much you know, because you see, in that time you saw some little part of Islam. One time you pray and something generally you understood Islam, then you became Muslim. But after some years, of course, you study. And could you talk about that period, how it went, how it passed, those years?
Well, I just started to learn more and more about Islam. I attended tafsir classes, and the tafsir became very dear to me. I just, till this day, just love to know the meaning of what the Quran says. So I went to tafsir classes, and those were just fantastic. It was given by a man from India, and whenever he was saying, something from the Quran, he would look to the sky and go like this on his beard, and it was like he was getting into a revelation, but it was just fantastic. And I just started reading more books and praying 5 times a day, and then after 3 months I decided that hijab was for me, and then I started wearing hijab 3 months after I accepted Islam. And then that's when I lost my job at the law firm.
Talk about that.
I was still working at the law firm in downtown Chicago, and then I decided I was going to wear hijab, so I went to work with it on. And then I knew that when I did that, I'd have to write down everybody's comments. So I have a list somewhere here around my house of what everybody said when they saw that on my head. Okay, some people were like, oh, that's great. I mean, it's Chicago, it's liberal. And other people would say something kind of real off, And so after about 3-4 weeks, on a Friday afternoon, one of the managing partners of the law firm called me in his office 4:45, 15 minutes before going home, and said that they were sorry, but they have eliminated my position at the law firm, and that this was my last day. So, took my stuff out of my desk, and that was it. Left at 5 o'clock.
What you felt in that time?
What did you say?
What did you feel that time after that? What was your feeling? You're angry or you're happy or what? What was
Well, I had mixed feelings. It was, you know, after going to work like for so long and like being in an office and not outside all day, in a way I liked that because I was going to have some time off. And in a way I was, you know, like really scared because I didn't have a job. But I got hired at Beatrice Corporation across the street from that law firm like in the next 2 weeks. I got hired for another job. And they made a praying place for me. They had no problem with the hijab. It was just a blessing. So, you see?
Blessing from Allah, huh?
Mm-hmm.
You lose something and Allah give you plenty.
That's right. Mm-hmm. So, maybe even it was an even more exciting job. Mm-hmm.
And you said that you studied tafsir. Then how do you educate yourself? What did you study then?
Well, I already had been to University of Wisconsin. I graduated from there with a BA in political science. Then I went to paralegal school in Chicago at Roosevelt University on Michigan Avenue. And then I went to law school later on, like 10 years later I went to law school.
No, I mean Islamic education.
Oh, the Islamic education.
Yeah.
Oh, okay.
If you want to think in the subject, let's break for pray.
Okay, the part I want to get to is, okay, after I got to start to know Muslim people, I found out that they're very divided into their own countries. And that I was a complete outsider, almost like not welcome in any of their cultures. Okay, and I found out that they had separate mosques. They pray only with people of their country. Usually, there would be sometimes a small mix of a few other people, but there would be like a majority of like who attended certain mosques. So that was what my impression, that's the impression I get. I had no idea, I didn't know Muslim people before I accepted Islam, and then that's what I found out, that they have their own mosque, their own way of doing things, their food, and then I found out they have slightly different ways that they believe, and that's what I got to know about the Muslim people, and that I was an outsider, and it was, they wanted to just like get married with people of their country and not with an outsider. That was mainly my experience.
Islamic education, you said that you studied tafsir and
yeah, and then
this kind of, do you think in that time, because it's not early, I mean it's not late times, it's early times that we convert Islam, and in that time it was good enough materials to learn Islam in English?
Yeah, there was a lot of good materials in English. Some of them had like strange, like thy and thee and thou instead of you, you know, so it was like actually reading like sometimes things from the Bible, because, you know, it had thy and thee and thou, and, you know, but it was easy for me to understand because I already had that from like the Bible, and of course there's so many parts of the Bible that are in Islam, so it was a continuation, it was a natural progression to go from the Bible to Islam, and I read a lot of stuff in English, yeah.
Sometimes I feel that I don't know if am I wrong. If I believe that there is some also sincere, how to say, frankly Christians, they have a good heart. In my opinion, if they know the real information of Islam, real knowledge of Islam, I believe that also a lot of them will convert to Islam. I think everything in the subject. Do you think good enough we can giving the Islamic population here in USA, they give good enough information to the Christians that they know Islam?
Yes, I feel that if Christians really knew about Islam, that they would accept Islam. But you know, I thought a lot about it, and Allah puts a veil over their hearts and they just can't see it. And I know that if they could see it, they would be Muslim, but it must be Allah's will that He's not going to guide them. That's the only, I thought a lot about it.
talk about prayer. When did you?
I started praying immediately after I became a Muslim. And it was Ramadan also, like 3 weeks later after I accepted Islam. And even they asked me, they're like, are you sure you want to be Muslim? Because we're going to have our holy month of Ramadan of fasting, like in 3 weeks. You sure you don't want to become Muslim after we finish our month of fasting? I was like, no, I'm sure today that I want to become a Muslim. So, yes, I started praying, and then right away was fasting after that. And it was very hot. It was like July maybe or June, and it was very hot and humid. And Maghrib was like at 8:15.
Almost 20 years before it was?
25 years ago? Yes.
From that time you didn't stop to fasting or pray? You did not stop?
No, I never stopped. No.
And what you are feeling when you pray? What's the meaning of prayer according to you?
Well, I found that praying 5 times a day, it's good because you, instead of focusing so much on this world, you take a break and you focus on asking God for something, on your hereafter, and just like just changing your mood. The praying does, because you make wudu and then you pray, and it just it changes you, and then you can like maybe have a different, if you were like having something bad going on, maybe that can change the way you were feeling about something bad, or just change, just to change it, like refocuses you. That was my experience with praying. It is my experience with praying. Mm-hmm.
What's the fasting?
Fasting.
Because you come from different culture. I mean, in Christianity, I think there is no this kind of fasting. So this must be very different.
Okay, well, when I was growing up Catholic, we had Lent. And I think there was one, like Good Friday, you had to fast, but it was like, after breakfast or something, and then you couldn't eat, like for most of the day until it was supper time. And that's what I knew about fasting. But then when it came for 30 days of fasting, it was like kind of like I didn't know if like I could do it, but I did it. I mean, I did it every single year for 25 years, every single Ramadan. And I like fasting. Even now, I look forward to fasting even when it's hot, because I found out that the Sahaba, when it was hot, when they were fasting, they liked it. Like to be like the Sahaba, the best generation. Mm-hmm.
After you became a Muslim, what was the reaction of your community? I mean,
okay.
Positives or negatives?
Okay, well, after I became Muslim, I would say that my family probably thought that this is just another one of my crazy ideas, because I had already gone, to Kenya, to Africa, and so they, thought that was crazy. And then this came like, well, it came like 4 years after I lived in Kenya, but they probably thought it was just one of my crazy ideas, and I was probably just going to forget about it later on. But now it's been 25 years, and I didn't really have any trouble with my family at all. After September 11th, 2001, then they started making little derogatory remarks, and that's what changed them. They were fine, everything was going along just fine, but maybe then they really spoke their mind after that. Mm-hmm.
Which ideas of Islam, of course all the ideas of Islam impressive, but what's the most impressive things according to you?
Okay, the most impressive thing about Islam to me throughout the years is that it's a complete way of life. You know exactly what to do with your time. You wake up and you pray, and then already it's the sunrise, and you should go ahead and like do your work. And then it comes all the different prayer times, and you know exactly what to do with your time. There's a way for everything. And the Sunnah of the Prophet and the Hadith, they just tell you, explain everything in every aspect of your life. They tell you, it tells you what you're supposed to do. And that's what I like. There's focus, and you know what you're supposed to do. There's guidance the whole way through. That's the most impressive thing to me.
What I want to ask, today you went a place that you were, I don't know, donating or you are the founder of that.
Mm-hmm.
Would do you miss that point? I mean, after you became Muslim, then what you are doing for Islam today? Could you talk about this? Because we will put the pictures, today we shoot it in the speaking. So, what you are doing, and even you didn't talk about your marriage with Ustaz. Yeah. From where you want to start?
And I got married with that brother, and I was married with him 6.5 years. And I have my children, 2 children, a boy and a girl, with that guy. And unfortunately, it ended in divorce. And then I was a single mom for 4 years. And then I met my husband that I have right now, and we've been married for 14 years. And when I got married with this husband, that's when the opportunities opened up for me to really do Islamic projects. With the other husband, I mean, it was still, we were both kind of young, and we didn't have too much money and just going along, and then we had kids and jobs and everything. And then when I got married to this husband, I didn't have to work. So that's when I started putting all my Islamic ideas into action. So the first thing I did was, there was a refugee community that was coming here in Dallas. I used to live before in Pasadena, California. After Chicago, I moved to Pasadena, California. And I went to law school there. And I had my kids, and I was a receptionist at the Islamic school where my kids went to school. And I went to law school at night. And then after I graduated from law school, I got married with Dr. Taha 2 days later, and then I never practiced law. And I didn't have to work. And it's like Allah gave me everything I would have had as a lawyer, and I didn't have to work. A nice house, nice cars, vacations, everything like this. And so there was a refugee population that was coming in Dallas, and I had met one of Dr. Taha's friend's wife. And she said, you really should, get involved with me. There's people in need. So I went to the first family. It was one of the very last Bosnian families to come in America. That was the first family that I helped. And I really liked, whatever they needed, I'd take to them or just visit them. And that was 1998. And then 1999, the Kosovo people were coming. And there was 1,000 of them coming to Dallas area. And the original lady that I had worked with, the Bosnian family, she went and worked with another organization, and then I got left with all the Kosovar families by myself. So I ended up helping a ton of those families. That took 5 years, in their resettlement process. Then after that, the Somali Bantus were coming from Somalia, and they were 99% Muslims. So Catholic Charities called me, and they said, you better come, we're having a meeting. There's this big group of people coming from the camps in Kakuma, Kenya. Because they knew I had already worked in Kenya and stuff like that. So I went to the meeting, and then that was it. And then all those population of people were coming. And now I'm the African specialist, and I do help refugees with resettlement from all different countries. Then I decided I was going to make this center for them, because the neighborhood that we were in is where they're being resettled. Now those people there you saw were Burma, because after I finished doing the Somali Bantus for 5 years, the Burmese started coming out of Thailand. And so then made that center. We had rented a place before that when the Bantus came, and that was just a rental place, and then we got that place. We had bought, it's a 6-unit, it has 6 units in it. We bought the first unit because we were going to put an imam in one of the units, and then he couldn't stay in the country and he couldn't stay here, so we just rented it out to just one public regular person. And then another person in that building wanted to sell their unit, and then they came to us and asked us if we wanted to buy it from them. So we said, okay, we'll take another one in that unit. And then the third person was from an estate of somebody. They found out that we had bought 2 other units, and then we bought the third unit from an estate of somebody who used to own one of the units there. And then the whole building burned down. And you want to know what day it burned down? Eid al-Fitr, 2005, on the day of Eid. And then the other 3 people in the building sold us their interest in the property. And then we had the whole property. And then we put up that place for praying and classes, Islamic studies, Arabic, Quran. And then so we got all 6 units, the 4 units. The income from the 4 units pays for the classes and the imam and the electricity and things we need around the building. That's what we did for that. Then also we got like a sister mosque that we did in Ghana, in Christian refugee camp in Ghana. So we built a mosque over there, my husband and I, in that refugee camp. And then also now we recently got involved with Ihsan Foundation for West Africa, and we built a school in Sierra Leone. And that was real satisfying and rewarding. So I plan on building more schools in Africa, inshallah. So that's what I've been up to for the last 13 years since I got married with Dr. Taha. I had opportunities open up.
You have been in Kosovo?
Yes, I went to Kosovo on a vacation. I went to Greece and Turkey and Kosovo one summer.
What do you know about Istanbul? What do you think?
About
Istanbul.
Istanbul? Oh my God. It's one of my favorite places in the whole world. I've already been there 4 times. I'd love to go again. It was a fascinating city. I've been all over, and like all the mosques and Hagia Sophia and the cemeteries and Topkapi Palace and all over the city. It's great. On the Bosphorus? Yeah, and it was a fascinating city. Love it there.
Have you been in Hajj?
Yes, I've been on Hajj 2 times. 2 Umrahs and 2 Hajjs. The first time I went on Hajj was in 1991. I became Muslim in 87, so I was like really excited to do all the pillars of Islam. And by that time, like I had left that second company that I worked for, because I had a daughter by then, and then I was so tired because she slept at the babysitter all day and she was up all night, till finally I had to quit that job. And then after I stayed home like for a couple of months with her, I took a job at Iqra Foundation, and they are an Islamic book company, and they have a board in Saudi Arabia, and there was a sheikh on that board, and he really, really liked my work that I did for Iqra, and so he gave me the ticket to come on Hajj. So I went, and I went on Hajj with a group.
What did you feel for that? What did you feel?
Well, of course, seeing the Kaaba for the first time was just like an out-of-body experience. So it was fascinating. I had a great time. I ended up with a Saudi group because I went with Muslim World League. They took me around to all the different sites, and then I went on Hajj with a group from Saudi Arabia, and I was just kind of like by myself, sort of, but but I was with them, and they tried to include me in everything, and it was I just can't believe I did it. Because I had then I had two little kids at home, but I wanted to do it really bad. So I went. And I'm really glad that I went. And I made dua that I could come on Hajj with my kids in the future. Just made dua while I was there. And 15 years later, I went on my second Hajj with my husband and children. And it was another awesome experience. I don't know how else to describe it. It's really hard. You become like a praying soldier because you pray so much. But it was cold, which is interesting because I hadn't been in Saudi Arabia when it was cold. And I went on 2 umrahs too. 2 Hajj and 2 umrahs. Mm-hmm.
Allah bless all Muslims.
Mm-hmm.
Comparing the East and West cultures, what are the similars and differences? Because West is not easy to understand personally.
No. Well, there are so many similarities between the East and the West. In my opinion, there is. There's not hardly any differences. I've had several visitors here at my home with State Department visitors from Russia, Azerbaijan, Turkmenistan, Tajikistan, and we found that we were like so much more alike than we were different. We had this, even though sometimes we couldn't communicate a lot, but there were certain things that just united us, even though it was like either it could be music, or if it was just a ladies group, like with dancing or videos or the job that they do or what you eat for breakfast or your pets. There was so many similarities. Mm-hmm.
How about the spreading of Islam? How it must be? Which kind of ways do you advise to the Muslims to spread Islam?
Could you repeat the question, please?
I mean, which kind of ways do you advise to the Muslims to spread Islam? MashaAllah,
What's my advice for Muslims to spread Islam?
Well, yeah, what do you advise? Which kind of ways we have to have? I mean, what we must to do?
Okay, what
We
Muslims...
must stay in the home, pray 5 times, and we close ourselves to home. Or
Okay. Because I'm like a convert, I still feel like sometimes like I'm an outsider looking in. And it should be the same thing as how I noticed Muslims. I noticed their good behavior. I didn't notice them in any other way except how they behaved very good, very polite, nice manners. That's how I think Muslims can spread Islam. And they have to get out there and they have to be involved in the society and not close their doors and not just do things with people of their culture and their country. They really have to get out and mix, is what is my advice to Muslims, how to spread Islam. Mm-hmm.
do you want to say something else to the Turkish audience?
To the Turkish audience?
Yeah, because this will broadcast in next Holy Ramadan, inshallah.
Right.
Do you want to say anything? Because my questions are finished.
Mm-hmm. I would like to say to the people of Turkey, you have a wonderful, beautiful country. Keep doing what you're doing. And I love Turkey. I love the people. And I wish everyone there a very happy and blessed Ramadan.
Thank you.
Yes, you're welcome.
Bitti.